Hi and welcome. Oh, was that going right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome. I thought that I would do a little how I remember my lines for an audition or just for a show in general. So if you're not an actor, this might not mean anything to you, but if you are an actor or you're getting into acting and you just want to hear some little tips and tricks that I used in order to learn my lines, or maybe you already are an actor and you just have trouble learning your lines, some of these tips might help you. I'm still learning as well. I do hope you enjoy this video. If you are new here, please subscribe. Please subscribe so that you can see more content coming soon. I do have a playlist that is dedicated to acting, and if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I've got my notes here. Theatre scripts, where there's a big conversation that might be going on, those scripts personally I feel like they are the hardest to learn. I'm also going to mention about monologues. If you don't know what a monologue is, it just means mono, which is one. So one person has like a scene that might last around more than a minute long of just talking to the on their own, massive paragraph, and those are the ones that I find quite easy to learn. So if you are struggling with them, then maybe my tips might help you out. Duologues, which is just like two people having a conversation, and how that flows as well, and how I learn those lines. So I'm gonna start with one of the main things that I would definitely say just to do is highlight your lines. If you do like to print your script out, if it's a massive script and it's already given to you, most theatre scripts are already given to you by paper. If you don't have access to a printer, like sometimes I don't, I do like to just download my scripts onto a computer or a laptop and highlight it on there. Also saves paper. Make sure that you go through the script really slowly in case you do miss anything. You don't want to do that, because I've done that before and then I'm waiting for like the person and I'm like,
it's your line, and they're like, no, it's yours.
I also like to do is read through all of my lines with no character added. So basically just reading it like it's a book. Just makes me get so used to saying the line, how the conversation is flowing through that scene. It also makes it sound quite natural as well, rather than having to think about the character and loads of other things on top and then actually remembering the words. For me, I like to know what's going on and then I'll add the character later. That's just obviously my preference, it might not be yours, so not all of these tips and tricks might help you. I'm just thought I would do it just in case some of them do. I do like to try and get someone else to do it with me, just so that way I can have something to bounce off, and it gets me used to actually performing it with someone else. It doesn't have to be an actor that's reading the other lines, as long as it's just someone there that you can bounce off of and know when to like either interrupt them or get that flow going. Now, if you have to learn lines like this and you don't have anyone available, that's what I'm going to talk about next. This has happened to me where not everyone's available and I don't have someone to read through the script with me. Voice record. You can either voice record on your phone, so voice record the other lines, then you kind of know exactly your timings as well and you can get used to that. And also that way you're listening to the other lines so that you can also get used to what is coming before your lines as well. I've said lines about 1,000 times in this video. You can also record it on your computer or your laptop. I did this the other day. I did have to learn a script and I didn't have anyone with me, but I did mine on GarageBand, and then what I did was record the next line. I would then pause it, say my line, know the spacing, and then record it again. I would then listen to the whole thing while saying my lines. I don't want it to interrupt literally halfway through my line, so I just would then like space it, and that's what's good about doing it on a laptop or computer. You can also move it all around. When you voice record it on a voice note, you kind of either would have to do separate ones, or you have to make sure that you definitely get it all in one voice note, if that makes sense. So yeah, I do like to voice record sometimes if I don't have anyone, but obviously having someone around to read it is a little bit better for me. Another way I do like to learn is, and I did find this helped, I think I started doing this like when I first got my first ever script at school. I'm gonna call it cover reading, and basically what I do is I just cover my lines and then I would say the line and then reveal it and just see if I've got it right. That way it just helped me kind of just prepare myself, rather than me looking down and going, okay, I would know that I've covered it, so I can't even look down because I'm like, oh, it's covered, can't see it. see what the other person is going to say. Sometimes that would also help me because I'd go, oh, okay, so if they're talking about that, I know I'm going to talk about now. Especially it can help if you are on your own as well and you don't have anyone to read the script with you. The next tip that I like to do is part breakdown. So I like to learn, sometimes it depends on how long the script is, obviously, with this. So if I have a script that is like a minute long, I mean that might sound quite long, but when you're reading a script it's not that long, or like 30 seconds. But when it's like a bigger script, like a 2 to 3 minute script, and there's loads of words, then this does come in handy for me because I am parting the sections, and that way I'm going to learn that section. If I get a line wrong, I stop, I don't carry on, I go to the top. If I get something wrong and try to carry on, even though that can still help, for me it's just like I'm getting used to making that mistake. I'm not like correcting it straight away, so then probably the next time I read it I'm going to probably make the same mistake. Part breakdown definitely does help it for me if it's like a big script and I've got loads of lines to words. Loads of lines to what? I don't even know what I just said. Just have like a section, read through that section a couple of times, make sure I've got it word for word, or just make sure that it's natural for me, that I could literally just like, yeah, got that. What I'll do is once I've got that scene, well, that part down, I will then read it again and go straight into the next section. And then each time I've got like the next section, I will then move on to the next section, so on, you know what I mean. Okay, the next one might look really confusing because when I first saw someone do this, I will leave her link down below because she is also an actress and I love her so much. We were in like a little web series together. She's actually the one that showed me this, and I remember seeing it for the first time and being like, what is she doing? It looks really confusing, but I've called it code work because it literally just looks like code. Yeah, very odd, very like, what is that? It helps. This really only can work as a monologue. I mean, it doesn't have to, but if you do it this way for like a duologue or a scene, you might get a bit confused. I'm going to tell you what this is because you're like, oh, what? Okay, so this is every letter of each word. So for example, this here would mean things have changed. So, oh, you can't really see it from there, but THC is like things have changed. Learning it bit by bit because I'm only looking at one letter and going, oh, there's 1,000 words that could start with that letter, but you get so used to knowing exactly what the words are. And then obviously once I've learnt that way, I would then go on to not looking at the script, either doing the cover one or having someone read it with me. I mean, that just works for me, but I don't know if I'd be able to do this way if I was having like a scene with 3 people, because I would be like, oh wait, but what do they say before that? Why do I say this? Why am I saying that? Only learning it as if you are learning it by yourself. When you're doing it in a team effort, or it is a conversation where you've got more than 2 people, you do want to get used to obviously flowing off of each other. What does that person say and how am I going to respond to that? Yeah, that's called code work. I mean, there's probably an actual name for it, but I'm just going to call it code work. Okay, I've got a couple more things to touch on before the end of this video. Okay, so the next tip should be like the first tip, but practice. So all I'm gonna say is I like to practice a lot. The more you practice, the more your brain's just gonna get used to the words and they'll end up just flowing out of your mouth. I know that sometimes I'll literally have a script and I will say the lines and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think I would have remembered that line. If you do struggle with lines but you think, oh, this is a small script, I'll know it on the day, or I'll know it just before I do my self-tape, practice, because you don't want to then get to it and then have the pressure of filming or have to do about a gazillion tapes. My next tip is to make them your own. Well, that's what I do anyway. I always do like to add a bit of myself into a character as well to make it quite natural and also to connect to the character a little bit more. I wouldn't say a certain word or I just feel like it doesn't really flow, then I'll either ask the script writer, I'll ask the director, I'd ask whoever sent me the script if it's okay if I can just change the words slightly, or if they've said to me you can take it on your own turn or take this character into your own way, then obviously I'm not going to ask them because they've given me that direction already. It also just makes it more natural. Like if I add like a certain word before a line, then it just makes it sound a little bit natural for me. I won't do it for every single line that I have. Don't like stress yourself out by learning lines because you might be stressed out about the whole thing in general. Just do the lines, practice them, don't freak out, try and make your own spin on them. I do like to research certain words that I have no idea what they mean. I read a word and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But yet then I'm gonna read it anyway. For me, like, I wouldn't randomly just say a word that I have no idea what it means. I mean, sometimes I do, but I wouldn't say like a word or a sentence that I have no idea what it means. It wouldn't come out of my mouth because I don't know what it is. So if I'm reading a character, that word sometimes might even come across that you have no idea what you're saying, and that's not natural. So what I like to do is, if I do have certain words that I'm like, what are they trying to say, or a sentence, and I'm like, I don't really know what that means, then I would actually research into it and be like, what does this word actually mean? And then obviously it breaks it down for me, and I'm like, oh, I understand it now. Like, I get why they're saying that in this sentence, and then that might help you as well. Okay, I need to wrap this video up because I'm probably going to be late for work. I can do a video on how I like break down my scripts as well if you'd find that interesting, like how I kind of analyse scripts. Give this video again a thumbs up if you do want to see something like that. My last, like, how I learn my lines is I like to know what is going on before and after, like I touched on earlier as well, and it makes it flow more conversation, but I touched on that earlier, so I'm not going to repeat myself. So that is basically how I learn my lines for either an audition or just in general. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything I didn't touch on. If you just want to ask me some questions, I will try and answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!